wasn't so much so when we first started with hard lockdown, but when there was easing of regulations, it started working to our favor, is the fact that KwaZulu-Natal has always been largely a domestic tourism destination. So our biggest market share has been domestic tourists. And so it gave us an opportunity to really just focus on the domestic traveler and really work with our tourism trade partners to put packages together. But on the international front, we really have been hard hit, where we've really just recorded no traveling, apart from, of course, the tourists who were in the country upon lockdown and that we are assisting to go back to their respective countries. So economically, the contribution of tourism to our GDP has really been at an all-time low. And so we are really on the recovery path domestically, and of course it will move to regionally and eventually internationally.
Absolutely. And I'm sure
for that, Phindile.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned about recovery. So what is the province's recovery strategy as it relates to the impact of the travel restrictions?
So we've got a recovery plan that is 3 phases, and really our phases have been, we put it together upon lockdown last year in March. So around April, we started coming together as partners to say, this is the global pandemic, this is the impact, how do we get ourselves to start our very hard road to recovery? And so as I started with, just zooming in on domestic tourism, we said, let us start by ensuring that top of mind awareness of the destination remains, even with domestic tourists when the country couldn't move, interprovincial travel was not allowed. But also in the same vein, internationally, let us not say just because there are these restrictions, our borders are closed, then it is us really just going on mute. Let's rather continue collaborating with tour operators in particular around training of tour operators, travel agents and so on. And so we've held a lot of virtual FM trips where really we train the tourism buyers about the offerings of the destination. And so internationally, the focus a lot has been on that. And of course, with any recovery plan that has to do with the pandemic, for really any part of the world, it's a shifting target to say, we will open up a greater and more aggressive international marketing when we are allowed again to move.
Yeah.
But what we've done with that, we said, instead of us going into the various markets, of course, starting with what before the pandemic were our core markets, we are cognizant of the fact that what was our traditional markets may not be the case post-COVID-19 because of the shifting needs of tourists and the dynamics that will come with the world opening up again. So it's almost a reboot kind of approach of saying, let's reintroduce KZN to the world. And so that recovery plan includes things that we wouldn't have done normally if there had not been a pandemic, such as us going for targeted roadshows in key markets that we plan to do once we're able to do that. And so focusing a lot on collaborations to say the particular markets that previously were not core, that are low-lying fruit in terms of the interest to travel, let's go for them and let's look for partners who actually have direct access to them. And so a lot of a shift, not away, but not so much trade-facing kind of marketing, which was what we focused on a lot pre-pandemic for international, but also consumer-facing, by going straight to the consumer through collaborations beyond the normal means that we used to do it through tour operators.
Right, that's
really the focus, moving forward. Of course, Africa outside, so you have the domestic being immediate, you have international being more long-term, depending what you define as long-term, because, with the dynamics. And then you have the medium-term being the Africa continent, to say, Africans tend to want to explore beyond the continental borders. Let us get them to come to our destination.
And that's interesting you mentioned that, because of course you've got the global African diaspora. What are your plans for them?
Oh, well, I guess what we're doing today, Rudy, is one of really untapping those spaces. And so what our focus has really been in terms of the overall focus in gunning for those markets in particular. I think what's going to be very important is to have insights, because now our marketing is driven a lot by your ongoing insights. So for instance, on a weekly basis, we report to what we call the Command Council. So we have Command Council at provincial level and then at national government level. And so we track the trends on a weekly basis. So what I think would be very important is to say, how do we best get to them? What are their needs in terms of packaging experiences? And what are programs do we then roll out that are very specific? And that could even include, of course, air connectivity is an issue with airlines having been also hard hit. That could even include charter programs where we charter planes for specific markets to actually explore our destination. So really for us, it almost is a blank slate again to do things differently, more innovatively, and with better collaborations.
And it's the creativity. And it's interesting you say that, because of course, if we take the use of culture and the importance of culture as a lead, and you mentioned about the charter as well. In fact, a few months ago, a plane was chartered between Nigeria, Ghana, and Jamaica, which again, that was quite a historic initiative. So I could see exactly what you're saying as it relates to the charter. And of course, you've got the regional strength as well for the multi-destination travel that people are interested in as well. So you're an obvious hub, and the awareness of the African diaspora, which of course is diverse because of friends and families, like to travel together, encourage people to be part of groups and things. And so there's a lot of, obviously from a Caribbean perspective, Jamaica, we're interested in reggae. And I know Durban has hosted reggae in the past. So yeah, I can see with the creativity and maintaining a high profile, and even the connection between the radio stations that we're doing now with Fresh FM Radio London, getting people to really understand each other, hearing more about what's going on in the neighborhoods, or I guess you would say townships, but we say neighborhoods. The Caribbean will say villages, but it's all people, it's all communities. And that rich culture and the tradition people are interested in. And of course, globally, we're interested in the key dates within the South African calendar. Is it June the 16th for young people, Mandela Day, July the 18th, and other celebrations like that? They do have a global connection for that awareness raising. So yeah, it's looking forward to seeing some of the strategies coming out from KZN.
Absolutely. And maybe just to mention, Rudy, that KZN also on that front of really being quite an attractive events destination. Durban, which is of course the entry into the destination, really our hook into the rest of KZN, has always been known as the playground of South Africa. And that's really because of a very strong focus on the arts, music, and so I really do believe there's a lot of opportunity to package that even more, to say, as we showcase our culture, how do we do so while we also are collaborating in showcasing various other cultures? So an exchange program, and we've done that kind of thing, maybe not to the extent that we could, and I think this is our opportunity to break those barriers, to say, let's just understand one another more, just open our worlds to our different cultures. And of course, a whole journey to KZN is discovering who we all about and what makes us very, very unique, so to speak, to the rest of the country, is the fact that we really are a melting pot of cultures in our destination. And so being able then to showcase that while celebrating other cultures in terms of exchange programs would really be wonderful. We've done some bit on the fashion front through our Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, but I suppose really, it's a limitless opportunity.
Absolutely. And if we think of how we generate town centers and cities, and what we say is that what's important is that you ensure that your location is also a stage for all cultures. You're inclusive. Now,
Absolutely.
and if you're able to do that, you will attract all the cultures and all their supporters and to your location. I mean, that's what we do for regenerating town centers, we ensure the business understand that, the town center should also be a place where the community enjoys itself, demonstrates its culture, and that will bring others. It raises the profile. And so if you can translate that into an area, city, region, I think it's great, because, the entrepreneurs from around the world will come and partner with you and make that a destination themselves, make your destination their destination, and bring all the resources with them. And I think there's going to be much more of that as we get much more culture-led activities around this community economics tourism. So sounds great. And of course, and because of diasporas as well, and the mixing of people, we've got people from all different backgrounds who are connected to different people from different backgrounds. So we're all reminding people, across the globe, everybody's connected, intermarried, traditions, ancestry, all of us pulling from, a wide experience. And so that's why culture and cultural understanding is really important for the future now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great.
And learning best practice as well, innovation, for us, as part of our recovery plan, putting women and youth in the forefront is of utmost importance. Yeah. And of course, the transformation agenda. And of course, your small Black-owned businesses have really been quite hard hit by the pandemic. And so it's very important that, our programs also encourage innovation, learning, best practices from other destinations and applying it in our own destination is going to be very, very important.
And that's great. That's great to hear, because of course, again, in the townships going forward, in terms of procurement and how are the local communities, the neighborhoods, how are they linked to the supply chain, and then how are they gaining those skills, what we call the 21st century skills of, collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, which are essential for women and young people to now be included into the overall effort, because we need all talents now. That's what all economies are now facing. We need all talents. So we can't afford to have any sets of people now not engaged in the economy. It's just too expensive. But we've got to put the training and support in place for them.
So we have a great collaboration that actually is coming up with Umlazi Township Tourism. I see Stembi Sontuli has joined us. But maybe before I talk about that one in particular, so we are very aware that really tourism for beneficiation really through the value chain to be realized, it's important to utilize local structures. And so we have what we call community tourism organizations. Okay. And those organizations really, because they are on the ground, I know that the system is different, but with us, we call them municipalities. So we have the province and then we have municipalities. And so it's really just capacity building at municipal level.
Yes.
Because of course, with all of this and with all the innovation and creativity that's needed, there's also the serious reality of the economy being strained, and so needing to really be creative about how we harness our various resources and, to actually get the impact that you want on the ground, both from making sure that tourism development is done right, the experiences and attractions are ready for the tourists, because it's one thing to say when the world opens up, you want everyone to flock to your destination. It's another to say, we are competing with the rest of the world. And so we need to say, hey, come to South Africa, KZN, and this is what is unique about us. So those community tourism organizations are very important. Yes. And we've partnered with Mr. Nduli and his organization in terms of a training program. This is one of a whole lot of interventions we've done over the years, which have really been incubation programs for tour operators and other businesses in the tourism value chain. But we're now saying, beyond just looking at individual businesses, let us go to organized structures so that we have better reach, wider reach, and really just roll out those skills so that they are ready on the ground to, one, make sure the destination is able to deliver on the promise. We say we are exceptional Zulu Kingdom. So as Tourism KZN, we offer the promise to an exceptional experience. The tourism partner is the one that makes an experience exceptional. The community tourism organization is one that has to make sure that they are well-skilled, capacitated to ensure that, we get to that level of that exceptional experience. So it's quite exciting that much as we've been gripped by the pandemic, it's made us tapped into more partnerships to really make this a reality. Okay,
thank you for that. And it's very interesting because for us, this in terms of description is that we have those local businesses working as clusters or within clusters. So for those people thinking of traveling to KZN from the UK and of course other parts of the world, what are some of the important things they need to plan for before coming to KZN?
Okay, I must just say firstly that UK actually is among KZN's 3 top destinations, So, so we really are missing our visitors badly from the UK, and really because of the KZN history, that's what makes it such an attractive destination for the UK market. But as you say, it's beyond the UK. It is really about the rest of the globe, really. So given the pandemic and the rules around it, you do know, of course, that you have to come in with proof that you've actually done your COVID test, and that it is negative. And upon not being able to provide that proof, then you have to go through a testing period to determine whether you actually are negative. And so it's very important that travelers are able, through their embassies, double check really for that specific area to say, these are the rules around getting into the destination, so that the ease of travel, once you've actually arrived in our destination, is guaranteed, and there's no frustrations around protocols and new pandemic protocols. I think most importantly, it's also knowing that as a destination, we have put in really, we've worked around the clock with working with Airports South Africa, which is really to ensure that the tourist experience at our various airports, they are guaranteed of a feeling of safety because all the health and safety protocols are in place. And so it's really just giving that assurance. I know that unfortunately we live in a world now with obviously social media and all other platforms of communication. It can be very confusing. The reality of the South African experience in the time of the pandemic and the perception. And so the perception has given this picture of us really not being safe and people being worried to make their plans, whereas actually our government has worked around the clock to ensure that the safety protocols are in place. it's not just only at our airports, it's also in our tourism establishments. We've worked with our trade partners to ensure that the experience when you actually get to your ultimate destination and product that you are using and the experiences that you are having, that those protocols are in place. So that one I can assure that we really are ready to host you again. But just make sure that those tests are done. You come to our country with a negative COVID.
Because of course we're used to wearing masks, you know, safe distance. And so there's no type of quarantine then on arrival. So what you're saying is that you have to have a negative test, and then what is the situation there? You have to.
So when you have a negative test result, then there is ease of course of movement. But if you don't, then you have to be quarantined because of the tests that have to still be done. So I would encourage more that by the time you do your trip, you actually have your negative result, and to of course just safeguard you against being quarantined. We do know that comes at own cost, and so we don't want. We've always prided ourselves to say we are an affordable destination, much as we are long haul, of course, depending where you come from globally, but you don't want to then add to the expense of saying you now need to go through tests and quarantine when you could have done it in your source country. And then
because I know with some destinations we would have to have had a negative test within 72 hours of departure from the country.
Yes.
Is that the similar rule as it relates to South Africa? Yes.
That is the similar rule for our country as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those people who are really looking forward to KZN as a first-time visit, how best would you recommend that they use the services of tour operators, you know, guides? How best, you know, first time in KZN, how do they get around? How do they understand and get to experience all the delights? And what are the delights? So there's two questions in there.
So maybe just in terms of how to plan their trip.
Yes.
My recommendation is, while it's best to plan your trip, of course, utilizing an agency in your home country, it is extremely important that you link up with a local tour operator. In terms of the KZN tour operator, who is well versed on the offerings of the destination, will be able to put together an itinerary that speaks to your specific needs, because you know, we are a world in one as KZN, really, so to speak. We have such a massive myriad of experiences right across the province. So if you were to have a typical, say, 7 to 10 night stay in KZN in particular, of course, we would want you to have as much of a geographic spread of experiences, because different parts of the province offer different experiences. I would encourage our listeners to also explore our website around planning trips and how to link up with tour operators, which is www.zulu.org.za. You know, I can talk about the Zulu.
I was going to ask you about that. If you could talk about some of the celebrations that are coming up over the next year or so, or this year at least.
Yes, before we talk about celebrations, I must say that, you know, when we did market insights and when we really branded ourselves as the Zulu Kingdom, it really was based on the fact that there's this massive fascination with the mighty King Shaka Zulu. And so it really was to capture the imagination of our international tourists, to say, we've got this amazing rich culture and story of the Zulu nation. And so come and experience the Zulu Kingdom. So it's not the kingdom of the Zulu that we say we must experience only, but it's the Zulu Kingdom now encompassing the various other cultures within the province. But we're very excited that we have a brand new monarch, King Mrs. Zulu of Zwelithini. And yes, there are celebrations that are planned working, of course, with the Zulu, with the royal household, as well as our provincial government. And so details are still going to be shared around dates. You know, our king recently got married as well, so we are quite excited about that.
Yes.
And I think what's going to be very important, Rudy, and I'm really keen for us to talk further around issues of packaging, just really a whole experience of the Zulu history. We have such rich history, and we also do have tours of actually the royal households. You do know that in our Zulu monarch, our late king had 6 wives. So we have 6 palaces. Right. And so we don't just give you one experience, we give you ×6.
That sounds very good to me. But there needs to be a Zulu film. KZN should be a location for a future film like Black Panther, but for a Zulu version.
I agree with you.
You get the filmmakers over there.
Absolutely. And interestingly, Tourism KZN is being merged into one entity with the Film Commission in the province. And so we already work very well, you know, collaborating. And so we do understand the importance of film tourism, to say destination can get so much value by telling our story in our location and really just showing the world what we're about. So yes, absolutely. We'd love to host some.
And the great thing with that as well, you can, again, at that local level, people with their smartphones, small cameras, just, you know, can take those nice local pictures. Absolutely. You know, and there's lots of, I'm just thinking of the designs and the color that really make up some neighborhoods, and you get that into social media. You'd be surprised how some simple images and what impact that can have in the social media around the world.
Yeah, we do have a My KZN page on of Facebook.
Yeah.
So please do follow us. And My KZN is exactly that, Rudy. It is, we encourage people of KZN to tell the KZN story through their eyes, to showcase various places they've visited, because of course our recovery plan is about getting travelers in, but it's also encouraging the people of KZN to rediscover their province, travel and explore beyond the borders of their neighborhoods. And so they go around the province, we run competitions, we work with radio stations, and they just tell us a story of where they've been and what that makes that place great. And then by so doing, they are also telling a potential traveler that these are the things you can do in our province.
Yeah, no, it sounds as though it can be a exciting time if approached with creativity and collaboration at all levels.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important. So so in terms of the province that you are so passionate about, what do you really want to leave in people's minds, those who are thinking KZN, should I or shouldn't I?
Yes.
What's a hook really for those who just don't know KZN?
You know what our hook is, Rudy? How Africa is packaged. It's usually the big 5, or a coastal experience, you know, warm seas, or, you know, the arts, you know, it's different little packages of what each destination is about. And what is really the hook for KZN is we are all of that.
Yes.
We are absolutely all of that. So when you get to our destination, say your travel is through Joburg, because we are a secondary hub. So with COVID, we don't have as many international direct landings, but you can land through Joburg. So you either have an opportunity to do a self-drive to really explore the province, you know, through a self-drive.
So how long will it take you from Joburg up to Durban, if you were to do
by flight, we're just 45 minutes away.
Okay,
by flight. So you either take an option of by flight, 45 minutes, you are in Durban already. Or you take a scenic drive, and scenic drive, it depends where you want to go. And scenic drive is my favorite because really with the itinerary being done right, you're then able to explore various parts of the province. And so For the UK market, for instance, you'd find the northern parts of the province absolutely amazing. And we have the battlefields, the great battlefields. Which,
UK people
you know,
love to see the battlefields.
Sorry?
The UK people would love to see the battlefields.
They come for the battlefields. And, you know, and when we talk about our story and the great defeat, it's, you know, it's a trip down memory lane, which depending whether you're ready, it can leave you a little bit depressed, but it's still an amazing story to tell.
Yeah.
So we have the battlefields experience, and then we have an amazing Big Five experience that you can find in Hluhluwe. But it's not just only the Big Five. We have a place called Isimangaliso Wetland Park, St. Lucia, which really offers amazing experiences of really sea life as well. And it's really just Mother Nature at its best. And so we are able to showcase our offering, not just in terms of only the Big Five. You can interact with the hippo, you know, have sundowners, you know, watch the sun go down and really just have hippos playing around you, just moments after having taken a Big Five experience. Yeah. And so that combination is not something that you'd find in a lot of places where you can move from those experiences. We are also a very big adventure destination. Okay. Normally when people talk about Durban in particular, and then the rest of the province, they don't really think the adventure part. But we have really loads to do, mountain biking. And so you are always out in nature, but also just doing adventure, zip lining and so on. And of course, our beautiful warm Indian Ocean. And so we've got a stretch of the coastline where you really just have amazing products, and you can, we say we have summer all year round. Yes, that's right. Portia was saying earlier that it's chilly, it's like we're in London.
It's warmer. It's warmer in London at the moment.
No, but you know what you'd find, Rudy? You'd find your warmth is actually our winter. So the chill she's talking about is exactly what she'd experience if she were to go to London.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So that's how warm we are. So weather is such a big offering for KZN, because not the rest of the country is not exactly warm throughout the year. And so we have that advantage from the rest of the country, that we have a warm weather throughout the year, and we've got equally warm people. So we just have this amazing Ubuntu, you know, a true experience of really being home away from home, and really just wanting to immerse yourself. And I think it's because of the cultural diversity that we have. Yes. And so, so there's just too much to do. Yeah. And so we always say, do an itinerary of about 7 to 10 nights, but it can never be your first trip, because you'd have to take a second trip, because within those days, you wouldn't have explored the rest of the province. Yeah.
So what about sports? Sports tours?
We are actually very huge on sports. As you know, in 2010, we hosted the World Cup. That gave us an opportunity, not just as a province, only as a country, to really just up our game, so to speak, in terms of our offerings. So we've got world-class facilities. We have Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban, which really has become not just a sports facility, but also a tourism offering in terms of other activities. We're very big on football and rugby and cricket. And so we host tournaments. But what is also very important to know about KZN is that golf lovers, we are a golfer's paradise. We've got internationally acclaimed golf courses. And again, it's just doing a round of golf and knowing that within 30 minutes when you're done, having taken your shower, you can just pop in and do something else, go diving with the sharks. You know, it's just a myriad of experiences right next to each other. And so we have also hosted quite a lot of sports events. And we really are looking, as part of our recovery, to really look at niche offerings to say, can we tap into golfing associations, for instance, globally, and say, put a package together as a golfing experience. And so your itinerary will be exploring the different golf estates of the province, or golf courses of the province.
Yes,
so it's big.
That is a quite an important market will be groups of friends and families who are sort of bound together because they're interested in football, cricket, and to be able to then connect to another country and their sports teams, primarily amateurs, but it's family and friends. Again, you've got diverse groups of people who are members of these associations. And so again, that's a great source within the diaspora to reach out to that level of tourism. It's huge. We know that just between the UK and the Caribbean, it's extensive. There's no reason why KZN couldn't tap into that part of the market as well. But obviously you'll need people who have some understanding, maybe some of your people in the diaspora themselves who are part of these different communities, who they themselves become good cheerleaders within the different markets for KZN. I think that's really important. And this is a great opportunity to build on that, because historically the diaspora hasn't been used for its integration into the key developed markets anyway. They've been in the past, they've been bypassed.
True.
And in fact, post-COVID now, everybody realizes that if you want the diaspora voice, is important to rediscover the home countries again. And every country is doing that regardless of their historic past. Again,
absolutely. No, absolutely, I agree with you, Rudy. And it's really an area where we really have said, let's pay absolutely more attention, because there are huge opportunities, and maybe maybe there's been a tendency, and maybe some of that is issues of connectivity, which we really have to address, the barriers to entry, because exploring the continent, in terms of some routes, you'd have to go via Europe to come back to the continent and connect. And so Africa itself is not as connected as it should be, and trading within the continent as much as we should be doing. And so really beyond tourism, multi-sectorally, there's huge opportunities that we can grab in just connecting Africa to Africa.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, that because of the African continental free trade area, this is such an important part of this economic recovery, and South Africa has to be a key player. I think the Secretary General is from South Africa, of that particular institution as well. So I think the more profile that South Africa has economically across the diasporas, I mean, it will definitely make people look up and just find out and discover. People have got to discover in the first place, haven't they? And then you can convince them to take that. Especially the US market's huge.
It is, and also, just when you say that, making me think about the role also of business events.
Absolutely.
So business tourism is very big in KZN, and it's really been growing. And we have partnered with African Bank. Later in the year, they're planning to host the Intra-Africa Trade Fair in the province. Of course, we are hoping, with the much more enhanced vaccine rollout, that we'll be able by the time to attract the necessary numbers. And so those are just one of the platforms where you are opening up for greater collaborations, because it's one thing to package a destination and say to operator X, please talk to your consumers, put us on your itinerary, a booklet, but they have itineraries of a whole lot of other destinations. It's another when you are very deliberate with your partnerships and you utilize this platform that avail themselves to actually, and look for new platforms to say, let us do very specific programs, let us increase the numbers, and really not have this situation where there's a fascination over an African country and very vague idea of how that country could actually benefit you, whether you're a traveler or you're a business person, whether you're in the health field. I mean, we were just talking earlier before we started that the opportunity in terms of expertise within Africa, health expertise that's coming through, that we are opening our eyes to, there's just, medical tourism is just another area as a province that we really want to tap into more in terms of, that offering.
And that's really important, because the number one issue for everybody around the globe post-pandemic is mental health and spiritual well-being, regardless of your background, whichever country you're in. So again, a destination that can provide that feeling of spiritual well-being. And again, it's got great opportunities, because we know it's how people feel, how you make people feel. So if you can appeal to people and their feelings of safety, they're reassured, all protocols are in place, and that they're going to have a great time.
Absolutely.
They're your biggest cheerleaders for sustainability, aren't they?
They absolutely are. And we as a destination, we really have been moving towards that direction. We have religious tourism as an area, obviously very niche in terms of our packages that are zooming in specifically to those who really want to take that journey, but spirituality beyond religion, of course. In terms of just really having your centers, we have in Iklobo, for instance, a Buddhist center, where really it's a different experience, where it's absolute silence, and you just really, become one with nature and really just rejuvenate the soul, really. And I think we can never have enough of that.
And
really, and Rudy,
good food, fruits, good natural food.
Absolutely. And you are so right. What the pandemic has taught us again, which life should have been teaching us, but I suppose as mortal beings we forget, is just really the oneness of life and humanity, and the importance to be spiritually grounded. And what better way to have a destination that gives you that opportunity to do that again? And I can assure you in KZN that you would have that experience. We've got quite a lot of offerings in that regard.
Because again, you've got people who lead tours, and they have followings, because that's the type of expertise that they have. And again, they're always looking for destinations. We've hosted one or two people, and they're very much about natural food, just the food that the sun shines on. And again, it's the location, it's the infrastructure, and they have big followings, So it's
absolutely,
it's great.
No, absolutely. I think that's when we're talking about the new tourist post the pandemic, some of the insights that we're getting, it's just authentic experiences that are not clustered. People really just traveling to rejuvenate the soul and reconnect, wanting to be outdoors.
Exactly.
Of course, that is a big thing, So what normally, hiking.
Exactly,
you'd find that it was very niche, and it's becoming a way of life now.
Because
we've been saying that while you're taking care of body and soul, just also experience nature while you do that.
Because we've been locked up for nearly 2 years.
Yes, we have.
So for humans, we took it for granted that we could just go anywhere, anytime when we pleased.
And the pandemic has really just taught us. It makes you just so hungry to travel.
Exactly.
So for a seasoned traveler, you know what you're missing. And for a first-time traveler, you know what you have not explored. And so it's that need of expanding your horizons beyond what's known, because we now have an appreciation of how time and how you can't have guarantees in life, right? And so you say, with what I know, and what I know is now. So I know now that I want to be planning instead of at a domestic level, we've been struggling that a domestic tourist, we're trying to convince them not to use their bonus at the end of the year to be buying new furniture, that actually going on a trip with your family is so enriching. And, you know, it ties family bonds than getting a new fridge. So we run kind of campaigns to show that it's not about so much the material things that you acquire. It's the experiences that you have and the connections and exploring your widening your horizons and meeting new people. So that's been the take at a domestic level. And it's the same thing with internationals. You can't be confined, you know, you cannot not be an American who thinks the world is America.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a massive new experience out there. And we want this destination to be one of those when you want to really connect with the world, to come to us and see what we have to offer.
And as you say that, then, as we're just coming down to the end of the program, what's in terms of the social media? Because obviously before people, whilst they're not traveling, it's been able to get a vision of KZN and as much information and a feel of it online. Could you talk a bit about that? In terms
of our social media campaign?
Yeah, social media and your websites and the accessibility of, you know, being able to understand and get information about KZN. Some people like to read up, look at things as they make their mind up.
Absolutely. So I would encourage our visitors first to start with our website, which our website has a whole lot of packages that we put together with our tourism trade partners. And so you can explore various experiences across the province. And again, it's www.zulu.org.za. And then you can go to our social media, which is Tourism KZN for Facebook. And we have hashtag KZN has it all. As our hashtag and our Instagram page as well.
You're on Twitter as well?
Sorry?
You're on Twitter as well?
Yes, we are on Twitter as well as Tourism KZN.
Yes.
We also have an app. We also have a travel app that can be downloaded. Excellent. Where you can get a lot of information, which is KZN Tourism.
Right, excellent.
Yeah, so I would encourage people to explore as much virtually for now, while they plan their a trip to our beautiful Zulu Kingdom.
Right, so I'm going to leave the last word with you before I hand back to Portia.
Okay. So maybe just to say, Rudy, thank you so much for this opportunity, Portia, Tembiso. It really just gives us an opportunity to speak to a wider audience and really tap into markets that, you know, we haven't tapped as much into before. I look forward to greater collaborations in future, and to all the travelers who've experienced the Zulu Kingdom before, we cannot wait to have you back to our shores. And to those who've never come to KwaZulu-Natal, please make your way and make those bookings. It is an exceptionally amazing, memorable experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Portia.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Phindile. And once again, it's Phindile Makwakwa, acting CEO of Tourism KZN. And as a young Black woman who is also an entrepreneur, I am like so in awe right now to be in your presence and to have you give us all this information about tourism. So we've spoken about township tourism, we spoke about the community tourism based organizations and how TKZN will be working with us to make sure that everybody goes back to operation mode as the country opens and as everybody gets vaccinated. So the message for today was, do not be scared to come to KZN, because everybody still loves KZN. The weather is still warm. Sorry, Rudy. Yeah, it is still warmer here. And you know what, Phindile, once again, all the information that you've given us, especially touching on township tourism and rural tourism, because that's very big right now. Talking about the Zulu monarchy, those are our main attractions, our culture and our history, basically. So we're hoping as the country opens, everybody will come to KZN. And Phindile, we will share your details on our websites as well as on our Facebook page, so that people who want to learn more about the what do you call this, the exercises that you guys are bringing to the CTO, like your travel agents, your tour guides, so they can get the information from us. So Rudy, once again, you are always a blast, and we appreciate all the questions, especially because you just put in the inputs and it just puts everything into perspective. But Phindile, once again, thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you in person, and let's get to work. And I'm sure everybody now is excited and we are ready to open the country. Thank you very much, everybody. Join us again next week on Indogozo FM, powered by Fresh FM Radio London. And we'll see you again soon.
Take care all.
Radio
Goodbye.
London.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, cheers. Bye.
Bye.